Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chuck Elder. Welcome to historic Gettysburg, a place rich in history and humanitarianism. We have a great program today dedicated to honoring Dr. Zimmerman, whose humanitarian acts have improved many, many lives. Before I recognize our guests, I ask that you join with us in two longstanding Rotary traditions. First, we generally pledge allegiance to the flag before we begin, and then we recite the Rotary four-way test, which is the blue banner in the back of the room that I'm pointing to now. That's our ethical code. So if you will, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now our Rotary four-way test, which some of you can see and others cannot. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Rotary. I now invite Larry Redding, member of our club in Gettysburg and former Gettysburg area school superintendent, to offer the invocation.
Let us pray. As we gather today to celebrate and honor the international service of Dr. Zimmerman, let us ask for blessings on all hands that serve in Rotary at all levels of involvement. May our opening prayer be a tribute to the dedication and hard work of our members as we offer our hands to uplift those in need and provide support to the community. We take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude and thankfulness for the opportunities Rotary has bestowed upon us, the lives touched by our service, the lessons we have learned along the way. Help us never lose sight of the blessings that surround us, and may our gratitude fuel our passion for continued service. We express our wholehearted admiration for the example Dr. Zimmerman has provided to the Rotary ideal, service above self. Bless Rotary endeavors, both individual and collective. May we never tire in our pursuit of a better world, and may our efforts leave an everlasting legacy of hope and compassion for future generations. We are thankful for the nourishment provided. Bless this food to our use and to Rotary service. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Please be seated, everyone. I would now like to welcome our guests, beginning with three of our elected officials and staffers. First, I'd like to welcome Representative Dan Mowell, 91st Legislative District. And when I introduce you, if you could just, exactly that, just let us know who you are. Representative Chad Reichart from the 90th Legislative District. District Director Melissa Cruz on behalf of Senator Doug Mastriano. And Waynesboro Mayor Dave Royer. One of the things I like most about Rotary is that we are nonpartisan. Our members include Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and we all work together to improve the community. We greatly appreciate your taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us here to honor our awardee. And in the short time we had together this morning, we've already arranged a charity ride on our motorcycles in the fall on behalf of the American Legion, so the time did not go to waste as we were eating. So thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for being here today. And it would be wrong for me not to mention that at that table is another dedicated public servant, the office manager for Dan Mowell, Chris Kimple, who we all know and appreciate for what she's done for this procedure, and I just embarrassed her because she didn't know that was coming. All right. We're expecting two others, and I may come back to them in a moment. So located in a very appropriate location here in Gettysburg, the Dwight D. Eisenhower Society is dedicated to promoting the qualities of this famous American patriot. Joining us today is Eisenhower Society Chairman Dr. Walt Jones. All right, Walt. There he is. Thank you for being here. Also joining us, some of our local media representatives who are present today include Daniel Dodona from localnews1.org and his wife. In the back, thank you for being here. Darrell Wheeler from the Gettysburg Times. He's way in the back behind the cameras. And finally, I want to welcome all the members of the Waynesboro Rotary who came to support here at Dr. Zimmerman. There's a lot of you. Don't worry, I'm not going to introduce you by name, but thank you all for being here. I also want to thank the members of our own Gettysburg Rotary Club who are here today in support. There's a lot of us as well, and this is the first time we've offered this in pre-COVID days. So thank you all for turning out for this. Now it's time to recognize our guest of honor and his family, starting, of course, with Dr. Zimmerman's wife, Linda Zimmerman. Just give us a wave, Linda. Daughter, Amy Hoke. We all know Amy, frequent appearances. Amy's husband, Brad Hoke, himself a known humanitarian. There he is back there. And founder of Gettysburg Pediatrics. Daughter, Dr. Anne Marie Zimmerman Schuff. Son, Andrew Zimmerman. Granddaughter, Adeline Heber. And granddaughter, Jordan Zimmerman. Last, and certainly not least, let's give a big welcome to our guest of honor, Dr. Robert Zimmerman. Okay, well, I'm merely the scene setter today. Dr. John Dodson is our master of ceremonies, so I do what I do best now. I tell stories. And I'm about to set the scene with a story of historical Gettysburg to warm up this crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, and Dr. Zimmerman, I cannot think of a more appropriate town in which to honor your life of humanitarian accomplishments than Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Gettysburg symbolizes humanitarianism in the face of human conflict. If we left this historic hotel and walked down the stairs and past that majestic red brick building on the left, the famous building that Abraham Lincoln slept in the night before his immortal words, we would come to Freemasons Hall. Today, the gentleman inside Freemasons Hall would be pleased to tell you of one of the many great humanitarian acts performed during the heat of battle. Union Captain Henry Bingham, a Mason and staff assistant to General Hancock, came across Confederate General Lewis Armistead dying on the battlefield following Pickett's charge, the third day of the battle. Both were Freemasons, so Armistead entrusted Bingham with his personal effects, including his watch, his Bible, his spurs, and a Masonic chain, asking that they be delivered to Hancock, who commanded the corps that stopped Pickett's charge and mortally wounded Armistead. Bingham agreed, and that touching act between foes in battle has come to symbolize humanitarianism in the heat of battle and is memorialized in one of the most famous monuments of the Civil War right here in the National Cemetery, the Friend on Friend Monument. And if you've never seen that, I invite you to get a bottle of wine at the Adams County Winery because it's depicted on one of their wine series. The Battle of Gettysburg led to significant humanitarian crisis as the town suddenly had to care for thousands of wounded soldiers in the aftermath. Nearly every large building became a makeshift hospital. Hundreds of women like Elizabeth Sally Myers, a school teacher, who wrote in her memoirs that she never could bear the sight of blood, when asked to nurse wounded men, rose to the necessity. Myers assisted the wounded throughout the summer in her home and in the Catholic Church on High Street. There was also Tilly Pierce, a teenager who left home seeking safety, but landed instead in the middle of the battle, taking care of the sick and the dying from both sides of of the war at the Wycott Farm and later at Camp Letterman. And if you walk down Chambers Street today and you come to the signposts commemorating the former home site of a famous Gettysburg son, you might think about the humanitarian who not only helped lead the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution as a U.S. congressman, but is also believed to have been directly involved in organizing the Underground Railroad activities that helped so many slaves escape the South. And if you make that turn onto Washington Street, right where the 7-Eleven is today, and you proceed to the college, among the campus buildings used to care for the wounded and dying is the President's House. In 1863, it was the home to President Henry Bauer and his family. The Bauers had already lost their son during the war. The Battle of Shiloh claimed him. But instead of fleeing the college as the fighting approached, Bauer's wife Clarissa and daughter Alice served as nurses, treating soldiers of both armies, while exploding shells and bullets took limbs from nearby trees. This tour could go on with endless examples of humanitarian acts, but we'll end at the home across the street on Washington Street near the Bauer home on campus. The red brick house with the majestic white columns, it's very prominent, you can't miss it. And if you pass by quickly and you did not bother to read the bronze plaques or see any of the other signs in front of it, you might conclude that something especially important had happened, but the house is known today instead for a famous resident who lived there in 1918, a young Army captain, his wife, and their son. The captain commanded Camp Colt, located on the same fields that Armistead and Bingham met back in 1863. He would return later in life, but not before achieving the rank of Supreme Allied Commander during the World War II and being twice elected President of the United States. Dwight D. Eisenhower performed many humanitarian acts during his long career, and to help us understand further, it's now my pleasure to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, John Dodson. John, himself a humanitarian, founded the Gettysburg Animal Hospital. Veterinarian, member of our board of directors, club treasurer, avid cyclist, avid skier. John was appointed last year to chair the committee who selected you, Dr. Zimmerman, as our 2025 Eisenhower Award recipient. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. John Dodson. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome to all of you to the 18th presentation of the Rotary Club of Gettysburg's Eisenhower Humanitarian Award. This award began in 1967 in California and was transferred here in 2002. It is a local Rotary Club award given in recognition of an individual's outstanding humanitarian service and positive influence in the areas of public or civic service and world understanding that have contributed to the betterment of humanity locally or globally. Before we get started, I thank the members of the club who assisted with their time with this award. They are Elida Murray, Chuck Elder, Ken Fairbaugh, Brad Hoke, Chris Kimple, John Cram, Paul Dendy, and Anna Mae Kobe. We also are appreciative to the organizations that helped to publicize the award. They are the Gettysburg Times, the Gettysburg Connection, the Dwight D. Eisenhower Society, the Gettysburg Presbyterian Church, the Prince of Peace Episcopal Church, the Adams County Chamber of Commerce, the Adams County Commissioners TGIF Communication, the Adams County Community Foundation, American Legion, the Adams County Library System, and the Adams County Office of Aging. Unfortunately, it appears that the next part, our friend Gary Castile wasn't able to make it at the last minute, but I still think we definitely want to say that we sincerely appreciate the contribution made by the internationally renowned sculptor Gary Castile. He's the son of a West Virginia coal miner and a lifelong artist. Besides his well-known pieces here in Gettysburg, he has other works all over the U.S. and Europe. Gary created the beautiful plaque right there, you may have already seen. And he also refused to take payment for his work. So we have shown our appreciation by making a small contribution to his favorite charity, the Eisenhower Society's Education Fund. I now recognize the former distinguished recipients of this award. Even though many of them are no longer with us, we still honor your achievements. If any of the former awardees are here now, please stand when your name is called so you can be recognized. Dr. Brad Hoke, Reverend Carl Mattson, Ernest Simpson, Dr. Herman Stemfley, Dr. Paula Ollinger, Richard Waybright, Nancy Forgang, Connie Fairbaugh, Jennifer Weaver, Harry Stokes, John Phillips, Dr. Bill Waring, Ken Fairbaugh, Dr. Kirby Kiefer, John Cram, Judy Butterfield, and Pete Ricker. Congratulations again, and thank you. The first recipients of the award were former President Dwight D. Eisenhower and the famous entertainer Bob Hope. Eisenhower's humanitarian achievements include enforcing the Supreme Court's Brown versus the Board of Education decision in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957, signing the Civil Rights Act of 1957, expanding the Food for Peace program, establishing the People to People program, approving disaster relief overseas, and of course the immediate post-World War II aid for the devastated countries in Europe. I will now play a recording of Ike's comments he made upon receiving this award in 1967, in which he discusses the unique nature of this award. I'm going to ask everybody to keep it silent because unfortunately the quality isn't the best. Try not to drop it. Okay. I now invite Amy Hoke to read her application for this year's awardee, her father, Dr. Robert Zimmerman. I also ask Dr. Zimmerman and his wife, Linda, to come to the front.
My father, Dr. Robert Zimmerman, known to many of you as Dr. Bob, is a lifelong humanitarian, community leader, and retired dentist whose career and volunteer service span nearly 5 decades. Born in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania in 1951, he earned degrees in chemistry and dentistry and opened a dental practice in Waynesboro in 1977, serving patients from Franklin and Adams counties and northern Maryland until his retirement in 2024. Dad's humanitarian impact is most evident through his extensive volunteer dental work. He participated in 61 international mission trips, often organizing and leading them to provide free dental care in underserved communities across Central America, the Caribbean, South America, Eastern Europe, Asia, and Africa. He currently has 2 more dental mission trips planned in the next 5 months, one to Honduras and one to Tanzania. Domestically, he co-founded a free dental clinic in Fulton County in 1998 and has volunteered there for over 26 years. Following retirement, he began providing free dental care to Head Start children here in Adams County. In addition to direct service, Dad has demonstrated exceptional community leadership. He has held long-term board and leadership roles with Manitou Incorporated, now Folium, United Way, the Waynesboro Board of Health, the Waynesboro YMCA, Rotary Club, and numerous youth sports organizations, often serving as president or campaign chair. His fundraising leadership has helped to raise millions of dollars for community facilities, including youth sports fields, school stadium improvements, and the Buttonwood Nature Center in Waynesboro. Dad has also been deeply committed to faith-based service, Christian education, public education, mentoring, and the arts through decades of church leadership, teaching, mentoring in the school district, working with migrant clinics, and service on the Waynesboro Theater Board. Dr. Bob's lifetime of service exemplifies humanitarian work, leadership, and compassion at both local and global levels. It is my great privilege to be his daughter. I couldn't have picked a better dad. Thank you all for being here today to share in this wonderful celebration.
Thank you. I now call on my friend since 1987, Dr. Walton Jones. A lifelong passionate supporter of education, Walt is the chairman of the board of the Dwight D. Eisenhower Society. Walt also has a personal connection with former President Eisenhower. As a teenager, just a couple years ago, he caddied for the former president on the golf course here. Walt will be presenting to Dr. Zimmerman a letter from Susan Eisenhower, the granddaughter of the president. She is also the expert in residence at the Eisenhower Institute at Gettysburg College, where she keeps an office. Thank you, Walt.
Thank you, John. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be here today to assist in earning the Eisenhower Humanitarian Award on the part of Dr. Zimmerman. What a career. Listening to his daughter read all the things that he's done and accomplished, I was just amazed. 61 trips, I just can't believe it. So many times, Susan Eisenhower has pressured me into revealing the colorful expressions that her grandfather used on the golf course when he hit a lousy shot, and I have always refused to divulge any of those expressions to anyone. But he was a great guy. He was fun to be around. My classmate, Roy Fairman, was actually his caddy most of the time. and appeared in the early 60s on the show What's My Line? Maybe some of you remember that. And, but I used to assist every once in a while. I did sometimes put his bags on the cart for him. But take you back 65 years ago to the Gettysburg Country Club. I was a caddy down in the caddy shack, fooling around, screwing around. And the pro came back and he said, Walt, he said, come here. He said, we have a very important guest who will be arriving in a few minutes. And he said, I'd like you to help out. Sure, I said, fine. So I went up to the pro shop, and this beautiful black Cadillac pulled up beside the pro shop. Out bounded two Secret Service agents who immediately went out on the golf course. The president emerged from the vehicle along with three of his friends, and I met him, shook hands with him. Very nice, good-humored. My job was to go out about 100 yards from the first tee, and when the president teed off, I was to go out and wave where the ball landed. The topography of the golf course at the time, when you hit a shot over 150 yards, you couldn't see where it landed. So it was my job to go where the balls landed each time and wave so the president knew where his ball was. So on the first tee, he hit the ball. I bounded over, stood beside the ball. He hit 4 shots before he landed on the green. He two-putted, in my recollection. I think he had a 6 on the first par 4 hole. And I was instructed, of course, before he was to putt, to take the pin out. And when the ball went in the hole, to pick the ball out, hand it to the president, Mr. President, your ball, which I did. And he looked at me and he said, son, he said, I thank you very much for your service, but this isn't my ball. How I screwed that up, I have no idea. All of his balls were inscribed Ike. This one was Ike number 34. DDE, his initials. Some were Mr. President. All of them had 5 stars on them. He only played 9 holes that day because of the heat. And when it was over, he handed me a ball and asked me never to forget what his balls looked like. And it was Ike number 34. And believe it or not, I lost that ball too. I can't find it. So anyway, but that's my little story about Ike. But he was so nice. He patted me on the shoulder and thanked me for doing what I did, and he was a great guy. I have here a beautiful letter from his granddaughter, Susan Eisenhower, to Dr. Zimmerman. Dr. Zimmerman, it is with great personal pride that I congratulate you on being named the 2025 recipient of the Eisenhower Humanitarian Award, presented by the Rotary Club of Gettysburg. As Dwight Eisenhower's granddaughter, this award holds special meaning for me. My grandfather and Bob Hope were the first recipients back in 1967. The award later found its home in Gettysburg, a place so important to my family, where my grandfather had commanded Camp Colt and later retired. It was created to recognize those who, like him, dedicate their lives to outstanding humanitarian service, promoting peace, understanding, and the betterment of humanity. Your life's work truly embodies the spirit. Your commitment to providing dental care to underserved populations, both locally and abroad, is remarkable. The sheer scale of your work, 61 short-term mission trips to countries like Honduras, Haiti, Ukraine, and India, is a testament to your compassion and dedication. Your role in co-founding a dental clinic in McConnellsburg and your continued service to children in Adams County in the Head Start program, even after retirement, is deeply inspiring. Beyond your dental practice, your extensive volunteer work with organizations such as the United Way, Manitou, the Waynesboro YMCA, and others demonstrates a lifelong commitment to strengthening your community. Your positive leadership in a variety of roles has made a tangible difference in the lives of so many. On behalf of the Rotary Club of Gettysburg and my family, thank you for your extraordinary service. It is an honor to see a person of your caliber receive an award that celebrates the values my grandfather held so dear. She signs it, sincerely, Susan Eisenhower, and handwrites with warm regards and congratulations to you. Dr. Zimmerman, I present this beautiful letter to you on behalf of Susan Eisenhower.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Walt. It is now my privilege to welcome back to our club Pennsylvania State Representative Mr. Dan Mao, who we appreciated taking his time to speak with us last year. Dan is serving his 10th term and is currently the Republican chairman of the House Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee.
Well, I just learned something new today. I learned that President Eisenhower is a much better golfer than I am. He got there in 6 strokes, and believe me, you kept the expletives on a bad shot private. There's no way I keep mine private because everybody in the golf course knows when I screw up. Yes, today we're here to honor a great man. Dr. Zimmerman has and still is leaving his mark on our communities, because it doesn't just start and stop in Adams County or Franklin County. I also learned that he took his talents throughout the world, easing pain and suffering to a lot of people throughout the world, volunteering his services. You know, he comes from Franklin County as a volunteer to Adams County to help our Head Start children. That's amazing. Somebody that develops a talent that is so needed and says, after making a living with this talent, I'm going to use my talent to help those less fortunate. We have a term for someone like that. That's called a champion of humanity, which I guess is the whole reason we're here today. You know, Dr. Zimmerman has helped so many children across this country, and someone that has served on the Children and Youth Committee for 12 years like I have, believe me, you've heard and seen every story that there is out there, and anyone who has taken their time to say, I need to help these kids, these children who are suffering, who need physical help, and when you get the physical part taken care of, the mental part follows. Because when you feel good mentally, you are good. And that's a big part of it. So I just wanted to get up and say a few words. I didn't want to be redundant. And I know the next person I'm about to introduce is going to go through a whole litany because he's known you for a long time. I'd like to welcome Chad Reichert. As I say in Adams County, it's Reichert, but I keep getting corrected down here. He has served, came into the House of Representatives in 2024. He's the 90th legislative district. I'm 91 over here. And people sometimes say, well, you guys aren't real busy in the House. Well, let me tell you, he serves on the appropriations. I had to write all this down just so I would get it right. He serves on the appropriations, communications and technology, game and fisheries, human services, labor and industry, and local government committees. Wow. I'm a chairman, they give me one. So he he, along with a lot of other legislators up there, do have their hands full and in a lot of pots. Chad's an advocate for Pennsylvania agriculture, workforce development. He's a fiscal conservative and a strong defender of the Second Amendment. He previously served on the Washington Township Board of Supervisors and its planning and zoning officer. He's a graduate of American and Penn State universities. And one thing I'd be remiss in saying about Chad and myself, and I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but everybody deserves to know when government works well. And I'm going to tell you a very brief little story you probably read about in the paper, but DCNR was a whisker away from closing down permanently a little golf course up on top of the mountain at the Restoration Center called South Mountain Golf Course. And the people had given up, but Chad and I hadn't. And Chad led the way, and we got news media involved, TV, and everyone under the sun involved. We met with the governor, we met with the secretary of DCNR, and by George, they got their next 10-year contract signed, sealed, and delivered, so we saved the South Mountain Golf Course. That's government working correctly. So please help me in welcoming Chad Riekert, very affectionately known as Lumpy in Harrisburg.
That's fine because I call him Pops. Dan is a good friend and he's been a mentor, just as Dr. Bob has been a good friend and a good mentor for not just myself, but so many people. It's my understanding that this award was quite competitive, but for those of us on the other side of the mountain, it's sort of a no-brainer. Dr. Bob he is just the consummate humanitarian, and it's not just locally, but internationally. And whenever we have a local project, and of course, one of the first things you always ask, well, who's involved? And if you hear Dr. Bob's name, it's always the first one mentioned. You're like, that's good enough for me. If Dr. Bob's involved, it's a good project that's actually going to be benefiting the people in the community, and it's pure service. Dr. Bob, I can't thank you enough personally for everything that you have done, not for our community, our Waynesboro, but South Central PA and the world. You are truly, truly a humanitarian, and I can't think of a better person to receive this award. As President Eisenhower saved the world from fascism, Dr. Bob has certainly given the world a smile. So thank you very much. I would be remiss if I didn't read the citation from the House of Representatives, sponsored by Representative Mao and myself. It says, whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania takes great pride in recognizing those individuals who through professional excellence contribute in a meaningful way to the betterment of their communities and ultimately to all citizens of this Commonwealth. And whereas Dr. Robert Zimmerman, a member of the Rotary Club of Waynesboro since 1984, is being honored with the Dwight D. Eisenhower Humanitarian Award by the Rotary Club of Gettysburg for his dedication to humanitarian service locally and globally. And whereas Dr. Zimmerman received his Bachelor of Science in Chemistry from Grove City College in 1973, and his Doctor of Dental Surgery from Temple University School of Dentistry in 1977. Shortly thereafter, Dr. Bob, as he is affectionately known, began his dental practice in Waynesboro, treating patients from both Franklin and Adams counties. And whereas Dr. Bob has volunteered and led many of the 61 mission trips providing free dental care in Honduras, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Haiti, Nicaragua, Ukraine, Tanzania, India, Peru, Russia, and Romania, bringing hope and healing to thousands. In 1998, he was one of the founders of the dental clinic in McConnellsburg, Fulton County, for those who are unable to afford dental care. Upon retirement in 2024, he began providing free dental care to children from centers around Adams County who are bused to Head Start's Gettysburg location. And whereas Dr. Bob has supported our youth, serving on various boards, including for over 40 years the Board of Manitou Incorporated, now known as Folium, as president and treasurer, serving 8 years on the board of directors for the Waynesboro YMCA, as President, Vice President, Chairperson of Christian Emphasis Community, and Chairperson of the Capital Campaign, serving on the boards of youth baseball, soccer, and wrestling organizations, successfully chairing the $800,000 fundraising campaign, the $800,000 fundraising campaign for the youth soccer field, and the $1.5 million capital campaign for the high school stadium improvements. He has volunteered his time in the Franklin County Migrant Clinic and is a mentor in the Waynesboro Area School District. Bob continues his volunteer service for the United Way, serving over 20 years as president and campaign chairman in the Waynesboro Board of Health. He also serves as capital campaign co-chair for Buttonwood Nature Institute, raising $3 million. Dr. Bob is active in his church as well. While a member of the Waynesboro Presbyterian Church, he served as elder, chairman for its Spiritual Life Council, Christian Ed Council, and served over 40 years as a high school and adult Sunday school teacher. Dr. Bob is currently a member of the Waynesboro Evangelical Lutheran Church. And now, therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania congratulates Dr. Robert Zimmerman upon his richly deserved recognition, proudly notes his exemplary service and contributions in keeping with the highest ideals and traditions of the Commonwealth, states that he is a shining example of community spirit, whose many contributions are worthy of deep respect and gratitude, and directs that this copy of the citation, sponsored by Representatives Chad Reichert and Dan Mao, be transmitted to Dr. Bob Zimmerman of Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. Dr. Bob? Yes. Unfortunately, Chairman and I have to make our way up to Harrisburg, but Dr. Bob, it was certainly an honor to be a part of your award ceremony today. I believe Melissa Cruz, District Director from Senator Mastriano, it is my pleasure to introduce you as well and welcome you to the podium. Melissa.
Good afternoon. Senator Mastriano is in Harrisburg right now as Senate is in session, so he does apologize for being unable to attend today, but sent me in lieu of him. Dr. Zimmerman, it's very nice to make your acquaintance. I won't get as wordy as Dan, but or Chad. I usually leave that up to my boss. But I oftentimes, when I'm thinking about what I'm going to say, I'll refer to the Bible. And when learning about Dr. Zimmerman's humanitarian efforts and listening to his daughter speak, and learning a lot about his ministry leadership, immediately a Bible verse popped into my mind, which was Isaiah 6:8. And that is when the Lord asked, "Who shall we send? Who will go for us?" Isaiah answers, "Here I am, send me." And I feel like after learning about all of the various trips that Dr. Zimmerman has taken to a plethora of countries in need for dental care, that was the first Bible verse that came to mind. So I don't think that I'll be able to think of that Bible verse going forward now without thinking of Dr. Zimmerman. So thank you so much for all of your work in our communities and abroad. On behalf of the Pennsylvania State Senate, I would like to present this citation to you.
I just want to say that those things they keep repeating, some of them are true. And they basically listed everything I did good in my whole life, but they missed the fact that in the 4th grade, I was a crossing guard at 5th and Clayton.
Okay, on that note, Another imperfect person is next, as are we all. Anna Mae Kobe will discuss the service ideal of Rotary as begun by our founder, Paul Harris. A past district governor, Anna Mae is the chairman of our philanthropy committee, and she will be making a special presentation.
Thank you. Dr. Zimmerman, I love you. You have a sense of humor as well. That deserves accolades. Service above self is the fundamental principle of Rotary International. The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service by the development of acquaintance as an opportunity for service, by recognizing the worthiness of all occupations and their opportunity to serve society, by the application of the ideal of service in each Rotarian's personal, business, and community life, and by the advancement of international understanding of goodwill and peace through a world fellowship of members united in the ideal of service. Together we see a world where people unite to take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Rotarians are people of action, known for humanitarian work. Rotarians channel their skills and expertise in taking action to solve problems in their communities and around the world. Well, clearly, Dr. Zimmerman is such a leader. The Rotary Foundation is the heart of Rotary International. The foundation provides leadership for creating opportunities and funding for humanitarian service locally and globally. The presentation of a Paul Harris Fellow recognition is the foundation's way of expressing appreciation for support for its humanitarian and educational programs. Recognized with one of Rotary's most prestigious distinctions, the Paul Harris Fellow is named after Rotary founder Paul Harris. We are pleased to present Dr. Zimmerman with a Paul Harris Fellow pin. Dr. Zimmerman has actually been a Paul Harris Fellow for some time. I've asked Amy to pin him with a second Paul Harris recognition. And in the Rotary world, we'd call this a Paul Harris Fellow +1. But that doesn't make a lot of sense to the world, I guess. But I decided to call it a second Paul Harris. We're pleased to make this recognition. For each $1,000 cash or $1,000 foundation points contributed to the foundation, an honoree receives recognition. This pin indicates Dr. Zimmerman is receiving a second-level Paul Harris Fellow as we celebrate with him today. Congratulations, Dr. Zimmerman. We're glad you're a Rotarian as well as a great humanitarian. They go well together, don't they? Thank you.
Thank you, Anna Mae. To give the award extra material meaning, we now are honoring Dr. Zimmerman with a donation to his favorite charity, the Safina Street Network. In Swahili, Safina means ship, symbolizing a vessel for protection and safe passage. The Safina Street Network has been rescuing homeless street boys in Tanzania since 1997. Dr. Zimmerman has served with them 14 times. So here's your charity.
Thank you.
And you're all almost done with me now. I now invite my friend, the longtime local pediatrician and Rotary Club member, and the first recipient of the Eisenhower Humanitarian Award, Dr. Brad Hoke, to come forward to give our keynote address.
Well, I'm the Brad that probably 90% of you have been emailing with back and forth. Welcome. We're happy you're here. It's good to see you. Bob is my father-in-law, and I've been asked to give a short presentation of slides, which some people asked for, and then I'm going to say a few words. Amy's going to push me forward one slide every 15 seconds. Go ahead, Amy. This is not one of Bob's foreign missions. This is a nice photograph of Bob's office staff taken in 2019. You see how many people he had surrounding him and supporting him. I received a note recently from one of Bob's former patients, quote, "I am so glad that Dr. Bob is being honored. I was a patient of his for 40 years. He made many of us feel like family, and his office felt more like a sanctuary than a medical office. He, his genuine service and spirit is and will hereafter be very much missed." He was very much loved in his office, and we'll come back to this in a few minutes. This is just a map showing you the breadth of his service throughout the world. I'm not going to list all of these because they've been listed before. Amy? This is a photograph of his work in Fulton County at the Free Clinic. This is a very wonderful photograph of a young sister encouraging her older brother to be brave and let Bob do his work. Amy? This is 1983. It's a much younger Bob Zimmerman. He is, yes, he was young once. He is traveling to Trinidad, Honduras. You notice the high central mountains. The central spine of Central America is very mountainous. And if you think about what has to happen to get there, to get material there, to get people there to treat people, it's a huge undertaking. Oftentimes he would work in the rural areas, especially in Central and South America and the Caribbean. This is a photograph of Tanzania, and they are walking up the hill to this building. This is at Morogoro, Tanzania. Bob says Morogoro is basically a crossroads and a house, but the interesting thing about this building is one of Safina's sites, where they take boys off the streets, boys who they think have potential, and train them in carpentry, plumbing, and other such trades so that they can find a job and turn their lives around. This is Tanzania, 2018. What you see in this is that Bob is holding a chisel. With one hand, he is holding the point of the chisel. With the other hand, he's holding the handle for the angle. And then the young man in the red cap is holding the mallet, and they're going to strike the end of the chisel to fracture the tooth so that he can remove it. You see a interpreter who usually is speaking Swahili and English. You see a dental assistant. And you see a few instruments. Think of how many instruments you have to transport to take care of 100 to 200 people. Amy? This is another photograph of the same thing happening. I like the colors on this one much better, so we put this one in. Amy, show it again. Here we are in Tanzania once again. This is present because from time to time, Bob would have local help, also in the form of, this is a Tanzanian dentist who's helping him. There were others, interpreters, dental hygienists. Amy? This is an American missionary giving dental education in Swahili. You know, it's very interesting. I was in Italy a number of years ago, and our guide said, you know, they already know you're all Americans. And I said, nobody here in our group is chewing gum or wearing shorts. And she said, that's not it. They know you're American because you all have good teeth. The level of dental care is highest in the United States, and the level in the rest of the world is not as good. Amy? Bob was very excited. I think it's 2015, he got his first dental x-ray unit that he could use in the field after 37 years of winging it on his own. Amy? This is another shot. You can see the dental x-ray on the screen in the back. This is his niece, Wendy, who is Barb's daughter. Barbara is Bob's sister. She's here today. Amy? And another shot at a dental x-ray. Amy? This also is Tanzania in 2016. This is Dar es Salaam. Dar es Salaam is it means abode of peace, peaceful house. And Dar es Salaam is the biggest city in Tanzania. Right now it's estimated at 8.5 million population. So you can see that he has worked a wide breadth of sites in the mountains and jungles of Central America, in Haiti, and in a major metropolitan area. Amy? This is in Calcutta, India in 2015. The very interesting thing about this slide is if you see all the darker colored skinned women, they all belong to a program called International Justice Mission. International Justice Mission is to reclaim young girls who have been sex trafficked. And they go into the brothels, not the girls. The girls belong to the mission, but it's the males who go into the brothels, identify the young women who have been basically held in captive, and then in one big raid, they pull them all out that they've identified. One of the reasons Bob told me that they have a big single raid is because they're not very popular with the locals. Because once the brothels close down, the locals lose auxiliary business. Amy? This, after the girls were treated on his last day, Bob was brought a number of children from an orphanage. And this is a shot of one of his patients from the orphanage on that last day. And it's a shot of his son, Andrew, also. Yep, that's Andrew. Okay, Amy. Think of the logistics. Think what you would have to do if you were planning and organizing a mission halfway around the world. Think of everything you would have to do. You would have to gather supplies, get them on airplanes, get them distributed, buy them, round up people to go with you, talk to people on the ground. It's a huge undertaking. Amy? Logistics. This is in Trinidad, Honduras, and these women are grinding corn to make tortillas. Amy? And this is the modern, up-to-date stoves. You have I'm losing it. You have a metal top, and you have a mud-baked bottom. And this is the type of stove called a fogon, which is very common in Central America. You see it's wood-fired. And once in a while, if you really need a shower and it rains, you get under the first roof that you can find that's draining water off of it. So this is one of the shower types that you have. And if you're really lucky, you're within a 15 or 20 minute walk to a wonderful waterfall, and this is a luxury. Back pain and spasm and back disorders are rampant in the dental industry, and Bob told me that this was a time when he was lying down, taking a break. He said it took him more than 20 seconds for his back to go out of spasm so he could actually lie flat on the ground. Amy? And this was a young man who was carefully watching Bob, following his every movement, and Bob said after seeing that there was a whole lot of interest, he went over and picked him up. This is hope for the future. Amy, thanks. Could we have the lights up, please? Now, here's what I want to say. During, can we have them a little? That's great, thank you. During more than 20 years of these ceremonies. What? Yeah, better. Okay. During more than 20 years of these ceremonies, I've become aware that in addition to the recognition of a life, there's another truth to this day, and it is that the people recognized are examples of what our lives could be. Such people are often embarrassed by just being noticed, but their lives should be, as was written 2,000 years ago, like cities set upon a hill, shining into the darkness. Oh, we won't become president like Eisenhower, and we can't all provide dental care to people who live in poverty. But each of us in this room has been given amazing gifts that could be used in some way to make somebody's life better. Bob Zimmerman took his gifts to 13 different countries, including the United States. A Peace Corps worker in Central America that I met told me, "You all are so loved by these people, but not because of the medicine or medical care that you bring. It's because you came, and now they know that their lives mean something to somebody. You brought the gift of self-worth." Maya Angelou, the poet, said, "They may not remember what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel." Dr. Bob Zimmerman has worked hard for almost 50 years. 61 foreign missions, a dental clinic in Fulton County, a full-time dental office, and more civic accomplishments than most people could pack into 2 lifetimes. He cared for thousands of people who led lives of quiet desperation. Some who lived months, maybe years, in chronic pain and in squalor. And he took their pain away. And when he went back home, he left a newfound feeling of self-worth. Angelou was right. They will never forget. On behalf of all of us here, thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Brad. Dr. Zimmerman, I guess I should be calling you Dr. Bob this whole day, but I haven't done that. Yeah, Dr. Bob, it's my pleasure, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Gettysburg and all present today, to present you with this plaque, symbolic of all you have achieved in life and in support of humanitarianism. Congratulations. Can we get your wife up here, please? Yeah, let's get one more. Let's get another picture.
We have somebody good looking up here now.
That's exactly what I would say if my wife was here. Let's do another one, and then one with John after this. John Dodson, where are you? You want to come up? Let's get over this side.
You're supposed to be home. Oh, okay.
All right.
What if I drop it?
That's okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move my two now in a minute.
Okay.
So you can hold on to that. Thanks, everybody. I now invite our guest of honor to speak in acceptance. Can't resist.
That's the end of the first round, in case you're wondering why the bell was struck. Somewhere in the late 90s, maybe 98, 99, I was invited to speak at Trinity Church in Waynesboro for a woman's breakfast. And it was like Ash Wednesday or Maundy Thursday, one of those. And so it was just me and like 50 or 60 women, and I finished eating breakfast, and I have to get up and speak in a moment. And I took my napkin off of my lap and noticed there was something white, down on my pants. And I went to brush it off and realized, oh, wait, I forgot. I got into this too quick. I need to tell you that it was like at 10 o'clock, and I did my normal morning devotions. And one of the things I prayed for in my morning devotions was humility. Because when you speak to particularly women, they tend to come up afterward and tell you what a great guy you are and you're a wonderful Christian man and blah, blah, blah. You know it's not true, but sometimes it kind of starts sinking in. So I prayed for humility. So I took my napkin off my lap after breakfast. I noticed this white thing down there. I went to brush it off, and I couldn't brush it off because I was actually looking at my underpants. Because there was a hole in my pants from the bottom of my zipper about halfway around. Like my whole crotch was pulled out. Now I didn't know that. At first I just put the napkin back and I looked up and I said, oh, what kind of podium do I have? I had a music stand, just a narrow music stand, and now I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get away with that? So I excuse myself, I go out to the men's room, and I'm in the men's room, and I can't quite see my crotch because the mirror's not low enough, so I'm jumping up and down in front of this mirror, and I realize that if I keep my legs together, you can't see anything. So I walk back out like this. And then they called me up to the front, and I walked up to the music stand like this. And I had to stand there perfectly straight with my knees together. You know, and you're used to just relaxing and moving around a little bit. No, I had to keep my knees touching each other the entire time. I probably spoke for 30 minutes or so, and then they kept asking questions, and my feet are going to sleep, my leg muscles are aching. But humility was not a problem, okay? The reason I tell you that is because I had the same worry this morning, and this morning I also prayed for humility. In 2002, I was in Romania. I was leading a team of 15. There were 4 dentists, 3 hygienists, and then a number of assistants and people doing sterilization. It was winter time. It was snowing outside. Mid-afternoon one day, the organization, Eastern European Aid, had an orphanage, and we saw those kids. But they also fed kids different places in the community, like poor sections. Homeless kids and kids from just low income. They fed them a meal, noon meal, 5 days a week. And I was working in one of those centers, and I went up to a patient like mid-afternoon. It was a 14, 15-year-old girl, and before I said anything, my translator said, she's in a lot of pain in the upper left. She walked here for an hour in the snow because she's had this pain for 2 weeks. But before I even said anything to her, she said, again, through my translator, you can't touch me, and I'm not going to open my mouth. And she had this really angry countenance. I mean, she was just really angry. And it was all driven by fear. Behind the old Iron Curtain, they had socialized medicine, and it's not that the dentists were bad, they just weren't always supplied with everything that they needed, like anesthetic. And it could be a very scary thing to have to go to the dentist when you're already in pain. And that's where she was. And all this anger was directed at me. And we just kept loving her and talking to her. I had a wonderful translator. And within a couple of minutes, she was holding both of her hands and her two hands. And eventually, she let me look in with just a mirror, and I could see the problem. Eventually, a little bit of gel. Let that take effect, a little bit more gel, a little bit of anesthetic. And we probably took, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes just to get her numb. And fortunately, it came out without too much difficulty. At the end, she wasn't quite as angry, but she still had that same kind of countenance. And I thanked her for her cooperation, and I sent her to the far side of the room to get antibiotics, analgesics, and post-op instructions. And I'm maybe 2 or 3 patients beyond that. I'm doing an initial interview. I'm sitting in a chair, and the patient's sitting across from me, translator's there, we're talking, and I feel a tap on my shoulder. And I look up, and it's this girl. But she doesn't have that angry countenance. She has just this wonderful, soft, angelic smile. And she looks down at me and says in English, I don't know if she knew a little English, or more than likely they taught her how to say it in post-op, and says these words, "May I give you a kiss?" And she leans over, she kisses my left cheek, and before I can even react, she's out the door into the snow. That was worth the price of the trip. And I have hundreds, if not 1,000 of those stories, times that people I'm serving touched my life. You know, there's no greater joy in life than when you are where God wants you and doing what He wants you to do at that moment. I mean, it is just such a great feeling. And I don't live there, but I've had the opportunity to visit that spot numerous times in my life. And a lot of it had to do with things I was doing overseas, but also things I was doing in my own office. And God has opened a lot of doors for me to have these opportunities, but many of them were trap doors. The first one happened in 1977. I'm cruising through my last year of dental school, and I passed all my national board exams, and I was doing the local state exams, and back then you still had to treat patients. And on the last day, one of the 2 patients I treated, the decay was deeper than I thought, and the examiner and I had a difference of opinion as, well, anyhow, I failed. I failed a section of my licensing exam in May of '77. I was supposed to buy a practice in Waynesboro July 1st. I couldn't take the test again until like mid-August, and I wouldn't have a license if I passed then until September. And I was really down. And my wife and I lived at a home for kids that were placed there because of abuse or neglect associated with the Presbyterian Church. So we had a chaplain. He came down in like the end of May, and he said, "Bob, what are you doing this summer?" I said, "Nothing. I got to wait around to August to take the exam." And he said, "Well, you know what? Christian Medical and Dental Association has a mission trip going to the Dominican Republic, and they need a dentist." I said, "Yeah, but I don't have a license." He said, "Well, to get a license in the Dominican Republic, all you need is a diploma from a U.S. dental school." Well, I had one of those. So I applied, and I went. And that's what got me on my first trip in '77. And I have a wife who loved and supported me, and she let me go again every year. Every year, she let me leave her for a week or 2, except the year that my twins were born. She's so narrow-minded, she said, "No, you're not leaving me for 2 weeks right now." We already had 2 other ones, and all of a sudden we got 2 more. And then the other benefit I had was another door that opened was in 1982. I am pulling teeth underneath a tree in Dominican Republic with Sue Magenity. And Sue's like a 5'1" or 5'2" dentist from Oregon who could pull teeth as good as I could. And one afternoon, we're just having conversation, he said, "Bob, do you treat missionaries for free?" And I said, "No. I don't even think I have any patients that are missionaries." And she said, "Well, you know, I do that, and it's really rewarding." Year and a half later, I'm doing another intake interview on somebody, and it says here you come from Zimbabwe. What got you there? "Oh, I'm a missionary." Well, that conversation came back into my head, and I said, "You know what? I'm going to treat you for free and your whole family for free, and we're going to see you again before you go back and make sure you're good to go. And it was one of 4 brothers in the mission field, so I got 3 more every time they came home. And then word of mouth, I probably treated 40 or 50 missionaries and their families for free, and that was a blessing. And part of that blessing was in the 70s, 80s, and halfway through the 90s, my trips were all through Christian Medical and Dental Association, but these missionaries would come in and see me every 4 years or something, and they'd say, hey, my mission station has health care, but it doesn't have dental. You want to come to my mission station? So I start just organizing teams to, actually the first trip was just myself and my son Andrew. I think that was the first trip, it was just the 2 of us. But after that, I started recruiting other dentists and hygienists because I had all this resource of people that like to do missions from doing it through Christian medical and dental before that. And that was a huge blessing. I mean, that's what got me to Romania and all those places. All those places because of missionaries inviting me to them, not all of them, but Romania and India and Tanzania were all through missionaries inviting me to come to their mission stations. And it wasn't a sacrifice. I mean, I love those trips. It's a joy. And part of that joy, I'm kind of selfish. I thrive on the fact that people love me. And you get a lot of that. You get a lot of just joy and appreciation, and it's really uplifting. If you want to talk about sacrifice, look at my wife. I would leave her for 2 weeks at a time with 5 kids. Yeah. And she let me go. I don't remember ever complaining. I was rehearsing this with my daughter, and she heard this for the first time. There were many times that we spent a lot more on mission trips than we did on family vacations. And she went, what? What was that? Yeah, that's why we always had to go camping in a tent. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Another door that opened, this is just crazy. Another door that opened up, I was talking to the chairman of oral surgery from the University of Connecticut, because he was going to go down to Honduras, and I'd been there. In fact, it's another story, but I was an honorary member of the Dental Society in Honduras. I was just telling him what level those dentists were at, because I'd lectured to them several times. And I said, and by the way, your translator's really good, because he got his undergraduate degree at University of Maryland, he got his dental degree in Honduras, so he knows all medical and dental terms really quickly, back and forth. He's a wonderful translator. He goes, have you used them? I said, yeah, I gave him some, short lectures, an hour or 2, maybe 3 or 4 times, but you've lectured with a translator. Yeah, maybe 5 or 6 times in my life. And he goes, do you want to go to Moscow? Well, where did that come from? Well, it turns out that in 90, after Perestroika, they could form a Christian medical association in Moscow. We sent people over for their first time, and they said, hey, we think we're really far behind you, and we think we're furthest behind in dentistry, and don't send us somebody doing cutting-edge research, because we're too far behind. Just send us some regular Joe Schmo. So, I'm an average dentist in a small town in Pennsylvania, and I went to Moscow and lectured, and this was before it split up. So I had dentists there from Vladivostok all the way on the east, from St. Petersburg, from Ukraine, from Belarus, from Georgia, all coming to hear me, and another dentist from Chicago. That's just humbling. And that's another one of those trap doors. I got to India to work on those girls rescued out of sex trafficking. And some of them were like less than 10 years old, and they'd already been trafficked for a couple of years. It was the most stressful because of that, but also just logistics in India were just. One day I asked the driver, how long will it take us to get to, the home where we're going to today? And he said, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. Oh, how far is it? 5 kilometers. 5 kilometers, and that's just part of the tough logistics. But it was also by far the most rewarding trips I ever took. You just felt good. And Bill knows, there's days at the end of the day that you're sore and your back hurts, and it just feels so good. It's crazy. Another door that opened up was in '98 when I got a letter from Fulton County. Hey, can you come help us? And then when I think I'm retiring, Johnny Schindeldecker's my patient, and she said, oh, by the way, we need a dentist in Adams County, and you get to work with 3 to 5-year-olds. And we know they're all excellent patients. So yeah, I jumped at that opportunity. And I couldn't have done it without lots of volunteers on overseas trips, who paid their own way and helped with other expenses. I couldn't have done it without my staff locally. And then there was other people that would just help organize stuff and help with packing and logistics. And I've just been blessed. There's no greater joy than when you know that you are right where God wants you and you doing what He wants you to do, and it's not a sacrifice. And I want to say to people that were my staff, people that volunteered with me on mission trips and helped to organize mission trips. I mean, you guys carried me, and this isn't just my award. This is our award. It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened without you guys being there for support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zimmerman, for a lifetime of service. Of all your memorable remarks, I think the one I'll remember best is, I thrive on the fact that people love me. I'm going to work that into some speech in the future somewhere, somehow. I definitely need to use that. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our formal program, and I thank you all for coming.